Good morning. So here I sit uh, in my pajamas. I do have a robe on to keep me warm. My hair is uncombed. I haven't brushed my teeth. I have a cup of coffee here. And what I'm sharing with you is what my mornings look like, what my mornings have looked like since April of 2004. Today, by the way, is February 4th, 2022. The inspiration came this morning to let you look into the window of my house, wherever I am. I'm not in the same house every day. To let you be a peeping Tom, if you will, into my mornings just as they are. And so I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to comb my hair because that's not what I do before I go to devotion each day. I'm not going to brush my teeth because that's not what I do before I go to devotion each day. I'm not going to get dressed because that's not what I do before I go to devotion each day. I'm going to show up just as I am because that's absolute perfection. I'm going to share that perfection with you when I feel inspired. I might not feel inspired to do this every day. But when I do, I'm going to do it just straight, just as it is. This is my favorite time of day. There's a time every day when I have to get up and get moving. I have a dog again. I once said I didn't ever want another dog, and that was because I didn't want anything to end this time. But life went as life went, and I have a dog, and at some point she'll need me to walk her. And so this time ends every day. And that's got to be perfect too. But what I do in the morning is I get up, I get coffee. I typically grab a book, whatever book I'm in now. I read and contemplate, and if there's a window nearby, I love having a window nearby. I stare out the window. Staring at the window, I think, is my favorite form of silence. Sometimes, but not every day, I meditate. My favorite form of meditation is beginning with the loving consciousness audios that are on the Awakening Together website. But I don't even always do those. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes I'll find like a video on YouTube of just birds chirping or something, and I'll listen to that. Sometimes I listen to music. Sometimes I even like listening to those theta beat kind of things that are on YouTube. But I think for me, the most important part of the contemplation time, the meditation time, is this sitting in the heart. I wouldn't contemplate or read if contemplation or reading didn't bring me to this place in the heart where I sit. I wouldn't meditate if meditating didn't bring me to this place in the heart where I sit. I wouldn't stare out the window if it didn't bring me to this place in the heart where I sit. Because what I really love is that it feels like coming home. It feels like being me. I wouldn't make this video if the video was taking me out of that place. I'm making the video because the prompt to make the video was strong. And as I'm making this video, I'm staying in that place. I feel like I'm being interviewed by an inner voice. I just heard, tell me what it's like to be in that place. So some divine interviewer is at work. The mind goes silent, or at least nearly silent. There's seeing or knowing that is beyond the little person of Regina. It often has that feeling of new or fresh or insightful. And yet at the exact same time, it feels like it's always been known. It's quite a quality, isn't it? New, fresh, insightful, and has always been known. And maybe that's why I call it coming home or coming back to me, right? It's like we went out away from ourselves into these personalities and we forgot ourselves, but ourself was still here. And so when I take this time in the morning to come home, what occurs each morning is new from the perspective of the self that went out and forgot. But it's familiar and has always been known from the perspective of that which never left. So it has the quality of both, new and always known. Right, the interviewer is asking the next question. What are you reading now? It says. All right, now. I started with The Path to Know Self by Bernadette Roberts. I had read, I want to say 2 of her other books, but to be most specific, there was one book that I believe I read in full. One book where I read like the first part and then the interest waned. And then another book where I read some early parts and then the interest waned. And now this book. It's interesting because even Bernadette talks about what I just talked about with the interest. I don't remember her exact wording, and I'm not going to search through the first part of this book to look for it, but it's obviously prior to page 49 because that's where I'm at now. But somehow she talks about being guided by God. Oh, I remember she talks about how one day she was reading and suddenly the characters, the words, the characters on the page didn't make any sense to her. And I think she says it was like a few days before she could read again. But even then, she could only read what God was guiding her to read, and nothing else made sense. And she talks about how sorry, my mind just went silent. She provides the sense that maybe every spiritual student needs. The sense that you need to trust that feeling of what is meaningful and stick with reading that. And when that feeling of what is meaningful fades, or as I described it a moment ago, that interest wanes, you close that book and you go to the next place, that this is a type of guidance. So for example, when I read a portion of her book and then the interest waned and I moved on to whatever I moved on to, that was perfect. Just before reading this, I was reading, I don't remember the name of the book, something about interior castles, I think, by Saint Teresa of Avila. Or maybe it was mansions instead of castles. And I read and read and read, and then interest waned. And it was so brilliant, just lighting me up. And then suddenly it was done, at least for now. And then this book got picked up. So it's the center. It's that which is keeping me in my heart that is guiding the reading. It has absolutely nothing to do with the head. The spiritual path has absolutely nothing to do with the head. Maybe some people read because they're trying to learn the truth. Maybe some people read because these ideas excite them. That's not what this is about. It's about staying in this heart space. It's about letting the mind go silent. It's about being present with that silence. It's about staying here and loving this until the day tells you that you have to go now. So the interviewer just asked another question. This interviewer is funny. I didn't know it was going to show up. The interviewer says, so what happens when you have to go now? Well, to me, what's really important is that I never leave this space entirely. Certainly the quality of the day is different. The quality of the day is not this depth that occurs in the morning. It's more out. But what's really important is it's not completely out. And it's not full back into the head. It's like right now in this morning time, in this devotional time, I crawl inside the heart and I crouch down and I just let the heart be all over me. So there's no part of me that isn't in the heart. There's no part of me that isn't embraced by the heart. You know, all the way from my toes to the tip of my head, I'm in the heart. And then when the time comes to get up and go, I stand up and my eyes and my ears go out, the funny thing is, it's not like go out in the world. It's more like they let the world in. My eyes and my ears let the world in. My chest is happy and full of love, and smiling, and welcoming. And my feet stay in that heart. My feet never leave. So I'm still grounded in that heart. And so even though I'm letting the world into my space now, it's not that I'm going into the world, it's that I'm letting the world into me. But I'm not leaving the heart and going into the world. And so I'm still guided by the heart. The world is embraced by the heart. I still am the heart. And the world is welcome in me. And then we just see how the day goes. And then it's just like an adventure. Each day its own adventure. Each moment its own story. And nothing is wrong or out of place. That's the sense that I have now. It's all perfect and compared to the heart, unimportant. I think this is one reason it can be allowed to be as it is because it doesn't really matter. It's perfect, okay as it is, welcomed in, enjoyed. But not overly important. It's passing. Always passing. And I love my dog, and I love my mother, and I love my daughter, and I love my boyfriend, and I love my friends, and I, love the view out the window. But I know what's real, and I know what matters, and I know what's lasting. And that's where I stay. That's where I'm grounded. That's where I keep my feet. I'm not hearing any more questions from the interviewer, so I guess I'm done for today. So we'll see where this goes. Nice chatting with you. I just want to say, I don't even know what's going to happen next. I think that's important to say. Like when I stop this recording, I don't know what's going to happen next. It's a part of being grounded in the heart. It's a part of welcoming the world into me. I just be, and the happening happens. And I discover it as I happen, as it happens, as I happen. Isn't that funny? Same thing. I have no plans. I have no desire to control. So we'll see what happens after I stop this recording. The end. Bye.